Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and listen to this. This is from Caleb and Brown.
Cryptocurrency is inherently a very volatile market. The market swings move quick, and that means that you need to act quickly to trade. There's quite often times where you have to send money, and given that the banking system can be quite slow and quite cumbersome, it means that you're not always able to send the money through quickly. This is why Caleb Brown offers credit for our clients. So we're able to credit you the money before the actual funds arrive. We can capitalize on any of those market moves and any of the prices that you want to take action on. And it means that we are able to navigate around those delays in the banking system.
I'm actually going to be setting up a transfer here myself. Caleb and Brown is my partner. I can transfer money in there and send an email to my broker and say, hey, got money coming in, go buy XRP, which is probably what I'll do. If you hadn't opened an account yet, if you'd like to have free institutional grade custody, a broker that you can email, call, or send a direct message to in the app, and over-the-counter liquidity for when it's your time to sell or buy or whatever, go to xrpwealth589.com, and then it'll forward you to my page on Caleb and Brown. Click sign up today. I did. XRP's sitting at 239. The market's kind of flat now. Check this out. Trump courts donors with a White House ballroom dinner. Trump has invited his biggest donors to a glitzy White House dinner celebrating the $250 million ballroom now under construction. And look who's going to be there. Ripple. And what's interesting about this list is these are all huge companies, and I don't think I see any of them except for Coinbase that's from crypto except for Ripple. How about them apples? Look at this. OCC, permissible digital asset activities like any other legally permissible banking activity have a place in the federal banking system if conducted in a safe and sound manner. Now we got the OCC on our side. Now they're making a good point about $10,000 and beyond gold. Listen up.
For years, gold advocates like yourself were sidelined by the mainstream markets. Now that the tide has turned, how do you feel personally with gold in the spotlight, Frank?
You know, that's a really interesting question. And, I don't think it's appropriate to gloat. And, on the one hand, yes, it's nice not to be in that fringe lunatic category any longer. That's nice. But
right.
You might recall 6 or 7 years ago, I told your audience, I said, for those that were cheering for $5,000 gold, I said, be careful what you wish for. Because what kind of a world would dictate $5,000 gold? Is it the kind of world you want to live in? So I'm torn. Obviously it's nice to be vindicated and to feel that you were right all these years about investing in gold as an insurance policy, but really, it's at these prices and going higher for a reason. And and I think that as I've always said, gold should be purchased as an insurance policy. Like if you have a house, you don't want it to burn down and lose all your memories, lose all your belongings, but you sure are thankful you have insurance in case it does. And that's the only way you should look at gold. If you're cheering for higher gold prices, if you're cheering out for $10,000 or $20,000 gold, be careful what you wish for, because it's not going to be a pretty world. And that's my honest take on it.
I've heard that from Mike Novogratz before, something similar to that. I think the U.S. has a plan, and I think it's to merge gold and crypto.
If gold becomes part of a new digital architecture, does that does the shift, does it affect kind of does it move monetary power away from central banks and back towards nations and people who hold gold, like the citizens?
I definitely think so. And that would be a healthy transformation. There's too much power held by central bankers, too much power and lack of accountability. you can steer economic benefits to one segment of society at the expense of others. The people who already own financial assets do much better under a central bank that has its own monetary judgment in a position superior to free market outcomes in determining the cost of capital. And so I think that just violates basic norms of democratic governance. Yes, I think it would be a substantial shift and a very healthy one to return power to the people who comprise the economy and not central planners who think that who have the hubris to think that their judgment is better than what would be determined more organically by people who actually are constantly gauging whether the market's frothy. At any point under a self-disciplining automatic gold standard or a link of some kind, anyone at any time can say, I'm starting not to trust the fiat currency, I'm going to convert. That's my option. And as soon as they quit using the currency and they trade it in for the gold, you're shrinking automatically the money supply. And that's why gold standard brought about a sort of self-equilibrating mechanism. And I think that was healthier than trying to guess, especially often looking in the rearview mirror, how to calibrate money and credit for the future. So that's a real advantage of a more organic approach, which any kind of gold link tends to impart to monetary arrangements.
Okay, now look at this tweet from Mr. Intuitive, who is the official cool guy of the Digital Asset Investor channel. Suppose the second Trump administration decides the fiat dollar's on a shaky ground, maybe inflation creeping up, the national debt's looming at $40 trillion monster, or global trade partners are flirting with BRICS currencies. They roll out a new currency, the American Prosperity Dollar, to stabilize things and keep the U.S. economy dominant. It's a hybrid system, partially backed by gold and other assets like energy reserves, with a blockchain twist for transparency and efficiency. The pitch is patriotic and practical. A currency as strong as America, built for the future. No Hunger Games, no shadowy cabals, just a pragmatic shift. Or they could issue Bitcoin bonds, XRP bonds, all sorts of interesting bonds on the blockchain. John Deaton's right over the target. One question: how much was he paid for this rewrite of history? FTX was never insolvent. My prison interview with Sam Bankman-Fried. Oh my goodness, we'll have to watch that. It's coming, folks.
Yeah, I think the numbers are underestimated already. I think things like RWA.xyz, which people use as a source, doesn't have every chain on there or every project that's being worked on. I think it's already larger. And everyone kind of was asking whether RWA is a thing. We strongly always believed every asset's moving on chain. And we're speaking to so many top financial institutions now that has really gone from whether this will happen to all believing it will happen. They're all putting a large amount of money into huge projects, collateral transfers, securities lending. These things have trillions of assets. I think every asset in the world's worth over $250 billion. Every one of those is moving on chain. We're convinced about that. As by the end of next year, I think it's at least 10x growth from now. The regulations are in line. The big financial institutions are here. A lot of the initial building's been done. So now it's about creating the utility for these RWA. Yeah, I think we...
All right, and then you have this from the DTCC.
DTCC has been looking at this not quite as long as Lee's team, but over the last year, we've been exploring the technology, speaking to many of you, speaking to many vendors, third-party providers, industry associations, many experts. And we've determined a couple of different things, peering through the hype and smoke. First, there's the ability to share information and let information flow is very powerful. The role that we play in certain infrastructures requires many firms across the industry to adhere to sets of standards, to upgrade versions of standards, and it's hard to get everyone on the same set of standards. It's hard to get everybody to look at data the same way, to interpret business rules the same way. And if you can eliminate a whole layer of requirements, if you can eliminate the requirement that everybody in the industry use the same exact database and the same exact version and the same exact business rules and the same exact stored procedures, if instead there's this new layer of technology that has the business rules embedded and that has the data information embedded and everyone is looking at that data in the same way, how powerful would that be? And how much simpler can it be to roll out a technology and roll out processing and eliminate the many upgrades and many coordinations that are necessary? I have a list of I'll say, hype comments, and I'll just give you a few of them. Reconciliation goes away. I think that's a myth. No matter how you slice it, there are other systems, whether they're big data systems, whether they're your trading systems, whether it's end ledgers. There will always be reconciliation to get things on the ledger and to get things off the ledger. That T0 or immediate settlement is the ultimate benefit of this technology. There are some use cases that imply that instant, near real-time settlement can occur. Is that always desirable? It probably depends on the business case. The idea that you can share information, I think, is the ultimate value, and that sometimes gets lost in the hype about the one implementation of the technology that's existed for 7 years, Bitcoin, where near real-time settlement has been one of its benefits. That may not apply in all cases, and there are many use cases where information sharing is perhaps of more value than real-time settlement. That the ledger of transactions can provide all computing solutions that a company needs, that you could turn off all your other systems because the ledger is here. That's completely untrue. There are plenty of systems you have before the ledger, after the ledger, creating reports, creating big data that this technology just does not do. What's sometimes fundamentally lost in the conversation is that this technology is just a ledger of transactions. That everyone really wants every transaction they do to be public, that every transaction they do.
What did Ripple recently say that they were working on? I think Vet had asked Brad Garlinghouse what's going to really increase adoption. He said privacy.
In any manner, they want to be put into public on a ledger. And that finally, that a public untrusted network is always inevitably a better choice than a private one based on trust.
All righty, check this out. I said, one day you'll realize why. I mean, this is an elephant in the room of crypto for the last decade. Why do you have salespeople that are constantly at the microphone trying to sell you on buying Bitcoin and Ethereum? And meanwhile, you never hear Brad Garlinghouse or anybody from Ripple talk about trying to sell you on buying XRP. I think this will all come out in the wash. Here's Michael Saylor, and he's acknowledging his fellow salesman Tom Lee about how great a job he's doing.
Tom Lee has emerged as probably the most
as a great pitch man for Ethereum. This has all been planned, folks.
Visible, influential spokesperson in the entire Ethereum ecosystem in a matter of months, maybe a matter of weeks.
Well,
what is
that's
that?
Because the CNBC and the whole PR machine has basically had him a bedroom over there at CNBC so he can talk about it every single day.
Represent?
Not an accident.
Well, first of all, they have $10 billion.
Just like they've propped up Michael Saylor for all these years.
Capital. Second of all, Tom Lee is part of the Wall Street establishment. He was never part of the
Now we're getting to it.
Crypto establishment. You saw Wall Street merges with the crypto economy. Capital flows because it trusts Tom Lee. And then the next thing you know, you have the Tom...
Because Tom Lee is ex-JP Morgan. That's why.
Lee having conversations with the early Ethereum entrepreneurs, with the Vitaliks of the world, or and the like.
With JP Morgan.
And what's interesting there is that entire movement becomes commercialized, institutionalized, legitimized, rationalized, becomes a bit older, a bit more credible.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so last video we talked about the greatest XRP conspiracy that there is, in my opinion. We're going to talk a little more about that and give you some more ties. I believe this thing was planned for a decade, probably 2 or 3. Go to DAIXRP.com for the Patreon. You can click join below any of these YouTube videos to join through there, or you can hit subscribe through X. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe, hit the like button, tell your friends and family. Let's talk some more conspiracy. Here we go.